What is up, my viewers? Spang here, bringing you the continuation of my World of Tanks gameplay commentary series, and I'm kicking it off with 9.6 with a replay submission from Crazy JC, part of the Wawa clan, and he is driving his BatChat.25t, or BatChat.25t. However you want to say it. I am terrible as I am American, and I cannot say foreign words to save my life. Still, it is going to be a standard battle, the only kind of battle on, what is this map called again? Highway. As you can tell, I am more than a little rusty. And right now, it is going to be a very heavy TD match for the enemy team, and for both teams, actually. Got a Yog Panzer E100, otherwise known as the Yogzilla. Got a Waffentrager E100, also known as the Waffle Monster, or Frank. I mean, there's a few names. But anyway, and with a few tier 8s for his team and the enemy's team in terms of that, looks like he does have a zoom out mod, giving him quite a bit of a view here. Last I checked, that isn't illegal, but I could be mistaken. I have been away from World of Tanks for a good long while. I have not checked up on illegal mods, but last I checked, this was not an illegal mod. Anyway, right here, hiding in the bushes, looking to get some scouting out, because at tier 10, the BatChat.25t is one of those vehicles. The 25-ton is certainly considered a scout vehicle. More simply than not, simply due to the fact that there are no light tanks at tier 10. The highest light tank is tier 8. And so someone's got to fill in that gap at the top tier, that being the BatChat.25t. And not quite spotting anything yet. He's kind of confused as to that, if you're paying attention to the chat down there in the left-hand corner. And still trying to figure out exactly what he should do. His team's sending quite a few vehicles to the northern area, the northern fields, I guess I would call them. As you can tell, like I said, it's going to be a little while me getting back into practice here, but he does spot a Panther 88, a premium tier 8 medium tank, and he gets a first shot off, a second shot off. He might not escape here. Third shot, and shot number 4 still not spotted. Oh, wait, there it is. 6th sense going off, and he is now well aware of the fact he has been located by the enemy team. The question is, will the enemy artillery be able to make any use of that? It looks like it won't, even though it is the rapid fire, not autoloader, but rapid fire tier 9 BatChat already the 155-55. And the enemy team, kind of odd to see an Indian Panzer in the city. I did not catch what that heavy tank was. Medium tanks and TDs in the fields, as per usual for both teams. TDs sitting on the ridge in the 6th line, kind of commonplace. And the 4202, kind of a bit up front, trying to spot for his team. 5100 getting spotted, as well as a Ferdinand. 5100 out in the open, and will lose his life if he's not careful, but looks like Crazy JC looking to mix it up and hit a few different targets. That Ferdinand barely visible, apparently somewhat behind a hill, and he's taken very unlikely shots at that Ferdinand, doing the best he can, and he will take a blind shot at the last known location of that 5100, but getting nothing for his troubles, I am guessing, but we will see in the post-game stats. Tiger 2 pushing through city, that heavy tanks, plural now, pushing up on that side, E75 and T110, E5, both very good and strong heavy tanks. IS-7 also pushing up. I cannot talk right now, clearly. And it looks like Crazy JC's team does have a solid handle on what is going on in the fields. I don't think there's much danger there. It looks like the Waffentrager E100 did opt to stay at base. And I'm speaking, of course, of the enemies. Looks like JC's is more or less in the city at this point. And it looks like the T49 is looking to fall back. He does not have the derp cannon, and possibly either breaking a track or busting his engine. That guy kind of came to a halt rather quickly. And JC will get the kill. Number 2 for his team. So far, the only kills his team has. IS-7 and Tiger 2 both on the outside of the town, while the E5 and the E75 looking to put on some hurt. JC is spotted. His team is more or less even in hit points, but does have that tank lead. And the enemy team looking to possibly make something happen in the city, but it won't be easy for them, as JC's team does have a very strong presence there, although the enemy team has a bit heavier of a composition. I would say it's really hard to tell at this point. The Ferdinand is most likely still hanging back, trying to provide shots down along the railway, and JC looking like he wants to go after this Tiger 2, taking a bit of a risk, as the 5100 and Ferdinand could possibly ruin his day if he's not careful about where he drives. And the Tiger 2 apparently getting a full-on miss from JC, and right there JC was hit by the Ferdinand. As I was saying, he might have a bad day. Still, has about half of his hit point, actually exactly half of his hit points, 900 out of 1800 left. The Ferdinand definitely wanting to kind of abuse him for that. He is a 2-shot for the Ferdy, and more likely than not a 3-shot for the 5100. Looks like the IS-3 friendly, I am wrong, did get taken out. The ISU 152 out in the fields got knocked out by that 4202, and JC's team kind of in a bit of a tight spot here. They are down by several thousand hit points and a few tanks, and it really is going to be tough for him to make up for his team's kind of spiral out of control here. Evening up a little bit, 4-5, but still that hit point difference is about 6,000 at this point. Not really going to be an easy margin to make up, although the Ferdinand definitely going to pay for this. Not sure if JC will be able to kill him before getting shot, and he knows that Ferdinand was very quick to reload, very soon to be reloaded anyway, and did not want to risk losing over half of his remaining hit points. Now the Ferdinand probably would have hit him for 500 something, more likely than not, if he high rolled. And JC saying he doesn't want any of it. The field's getting taken out by the enemy tank destroyers on the hill, as well as that 4202, just doing a spot-on job of lighting them up, and also apparently dishing out some pretty mean damage there. 2 kills under his belt. It looks like the Jagdpanzer E100 and that 4202 on the enemy team are part of a platoon, at least in the same clan, the 666th. Which, if I'm not mistaken, JC is on the the European server, and so these are all European clans here.
Penetration.
The T110 E5 driving forward, fortunate not to get shot, although it looks like he will not be able to shoot JC before he goes down. The I7 turning his turret to engage JC in the BatChat, getting knocked out by the T-34, a very potent Tier 8. While it does not have mobility or armor on its side, short of its frontal turret armor, it does pack quite the wallop, one of the highest penetration Tier 8 guns, especially on heavy tanks. So certainly more than capable of brawling with Tier 10s. And the 5100 is certainly still sitting back, probably more likely than not, towards the enemy base. The Waffenträger E100 and the Jagdpanzer E100 both coming up a bit closer to city, close to the rail lines on those hills, and really posing a big threat to JC and his team. Gonna take a shot at that. Ooh, there we go. I'm sorry, I was just a little put off there for a moment. Looks like JC will kill the AT-15 not before taking some damage, and now he really has to play carefully. The 5100 is certainly still there, having killed the T-34, and the Jagdpanzer E100 looks like he might be trying to push up a little bit, but with both those Tier 10 TDs this way, JC just does not want to mess with them. He's going to see if he can most likely get them in an unfavorable engagement, try and get a flank on them, come up behind them even, and maybe make them pay a little bit. Now, if I recall correctly, again, I am a bit rusty, as this commentary is more than evidence of, that the Waffenträger E100, sorry, I had to actually swallow this saliva building in my mouth. Oh man, commentary, if you don't do it frequently, you do become a bit out of practice, that is for sure. But the Jagdpanzer E100 certainly pushing up, very exposed, very unwise maneuvering here by this enemy tank destroyer. And the Waffenträger E100, as I will finish my earlier thought, I do believe he does have a fully rotating 360-degree turret, as opposed to a vehicle like the, what am I thinking of? It is the Tier 10 British tank destroyer, I usually just call it the Death Star. I don't remember the actual name of it at this point in time. But that only has a very slight margin of turret rotation, whereas the Waffenträger 100, like I said, I believe it has full 360 degree, meaning you have to really be intelligent on how you flank it, because it can hit you. Sure, you hit anywhere on that turret and you will penetrate it. It's paper thin armor. It will pretty much ricochet nothing. I'm pretty sure even Tier 1s can get through that. Could be mistaken on that point, but I've never seen anyone try. I don't go into any sort of training rooms and play around with those sort of odd scenarios. Not that it would really make that much of a difference. Still, looks like the enemy team solidifying their lead, a significant hit point difference at this point in the match. About 3,500, just enough to really make a difference. JC really hurting for hit points here. Says he's ready to fire. Shells in the container, 4 items. Last 4 shells for him. And wow, he is not kidding. I was not keeping track of that at all. Pretty much all he has left is about 1,600 damage, just actually a little less, even if he does his average damage. So really, he cannot win this battle alone. He simply cannot do the amount of damage necessary to win this battle alone. The number of enemy hit points far outweighs his amount of shell damage he can put out. So his artillery probably going to have to do work, the GW Tiger. Can't say I've ever played the tier 9 variant of it. I did have the maximum tier back when they made it from tier 8 to tier 10, so the GW E100, which is talked about to be replaced at some point in the future. Who knows how far off that may be. But I cannot speak to the tier 9 performance of the GW Tiger at this point in time. I had it back when it was a tier 7, so it is a little bit odd to see how well that thing will perform. I do know it has a powerful gun on it if he is working with the upgraded cannon. And the 5120 saying, you turn your ass on him. Someone talking about something or other. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. This ISU 152 getting caught out in the open. JC not taking the shot. I'm glad he didn't. The Waffenträger E100 more than capable of killing that. And he really does need to conserve his shells for shots he can guarantee will make their mark. I mean, at this point, he just does not have the capacity to waste that. Right now, it looks like the E100 saying Artie on the Waffenträger E100, the friendly, and the Waffenträger E100 friendly saying he has to reload. All that remains for the enemy team, 5100 and the 2 tier 10 TDs, not to mention that BatChat Artie. So the GW Tiger gonna definitely have to do some work. The Waffenträger E100 friendly definitely gonna have to do some work. Looks like the enemy Waffenträger getting spotted. Don't know if that GW has any shots in him, but JC not taking notice of the enemy tank on his left. I mean, right. Ooh. Yeah, 2 very different tanks on his left and right here. I need to be certainly more aware of my words. The 5100 looking to possibly get a flank, be sneaky, move up. Although I don't believe that 5100 wanted to be spotted. JC more than capable of killing it. Certainly has enough damage in the clip to do so. Oh! RNG saving JC right there. Now, I'm pretty sure that Jagdpanzer E100 didn't take his full time to aim, but knew he had to take a shot or else he would miss his opportunity. And JC kind of out in the open for enemy Artie here, which fortunately has not done anything. The Waffenträger E100 possibly going to be able to kill this enemy. Yes, he will. So Waffenträgers trade out. Nazgul managing to even the playing field just a little bit here. Hit points are more or less even at this point, and number of tanks are definitely even. 5100 versus BatChat. BatChat wins, especially when one is a one-shot for the other. I mean, BatChat definitely comes out on top in that scenario.
3 minutes left.
All things playing out as they normally should. It looks like this BatChat Artie going to get taken out. Now, it is almost certain that it might be a one-shot, possibly needs 2 rounds. And now he's playing with fire. He has to high roll in order to kill this, or his Artie will have to save him. But he doesn't want to be playing with that, apparently, at this point in time. He's going to try and get around, hopefully not run into that Jagdzilla. And maybe that Waffenträger 100. I don't know what that Jagdzilla's thinking at this point in time. But it looks like JC is trying to possibly get his attention so his Waffenträger ally can come up and flank him, which I think is the wiser move here. At the very least, I do believe he spotted him. He did. Jagdzilla is facing JC here, which will open the door for Nazgul and that Waffenträger to manage and to possibly kill him. Should be a 2-shot, although it does always depend on how the damage actually rolls out. Jagdpanzer E100 does not know how few shells JC has in the container, or overall. And artillery coming in to save the day. That will be a kill shot, number 6 for JC. Kind of unlikely, but definitely welcome. And JC completely out of ammo at this point. Yep, ammunition is empty. The Waffenträger acknowledging, and artillery surely to take notice. Now the Waffenträger saying to capture. The BatChat Artie might not choose to engage. Again, he doesn't know the BatChat JC is out of ammo. He doesn't know how many shells the Waffenträger is loaded, and honestly, you never really want to fight a Waffenträger up front. Case in point, right there, as an artillery piece, just simply because more often than not, you will lose. Although, right there, good game all around. Apologies for the rustiness of my commentator skills. 9.6, it's been a while since 9.5, and I really have just been out of practice, but more to come. Certainly, I think there's about 20 or so replays for 9.6, if not closer to 30 between mine and the submissions. So, rambling on, enough about that. Let's go to the post-game commentary and see how the stats actually racked and stacked. And here we go, looking at these post-game stats, and this is one of the reasons I always tell you guys to send me a link if possible. It's so much better than the old system of having you guys send me the replays the actual files and then sending me screenshots from the garage, because I can actually interact with this. I didn't actually cover that per se in my most recent submission update video, but anyway, getting on with it, looking like he earned himself a decent amount of credits and experience right here. I'm not quite sure if he is, yes, he is running premium, so that is with premium. Would have made significantly less, but it's a 50% increase for those unaware. High Caliber and Top Gun, getting Mastery Badge Ace Tanker for certain. Right here, looking how everyone else did, and I always like to look at damage because it is the easiest thing to look at, saying, well, how much of the enemy team did you really hurt? Quite literally hurt. And JC coming out on top at 7910, certainly doing his fair share of work there. I mean, he fired literally every round in his tank, so not too surprising. The Waffenträger coming in second for his team, doing more than the one on the enemy team, who did come in first. There was quite a few platoons going on here, but JC just rocking it solo. Looking like Nazgul, the friendly Waffenträger, was platooned up with that 1390, so a bit of an odd pairing, but I can't say it's a bad platoon. I would not call it a fail platoon. Tier 8 scouts, Tier 8 light tanks can certainly see Tier 10, so certainly now not out of his range at all. The E100 on his team, that is sad. How many shots did he get off? He got one shot off, and he got shot 9 different times without really doing anything, so that's a little bit disappointing, honestly. I drive an E100, so I can say quite confidently he could have done much better. E100s have just great survivability and a pretty decent gun. You don't even have to fire premium rounds heat out of it. I don't, as my standard. I typically fire the 235 penetration AP rounds, and I do just fine for myself. So a little disappointing to see that, but such is the way of things. A few 0 damage contributors for the enemy team too, but I mean, we saw what happened with that Panther as well as that ISU. They kind of got caught out in the open. Really not much of an opportunity to do much. Still, it's always a little disheartening when your team loses by a close margin and you look back and you see some tanks that really didn't do anything to contribute and in fact just more helped the enemy team. Enough of rambling on about that. So 30 shots fired, 25 hits, 22 penetrations. Quite about half of it done from a distance of more than 300 meters. I always mess that up. I usually say 300 meters or more, but that is not accurate. It says more than 300 meters. That is in no uncertain terms. Looks like enemy vehicles damaged 10 of 6, 2 away from getting both Confederate and Top Gun. Unfortunately, could not manage both. It is very rare you see both. Let me just put that one out there. Damage due to player's assistance, 757. Enemy vehicle spotted 3, not too incredible job as a quote-unquote scouting role, but I think he more than made up for it in his damage role, his DPM. Or rather, even, I wouldn't even call it DPM, I just call it overall damage. It's hard to really say who won, quote-unquote, with DPM, but probably a Waffenträger. Just gonna probably put that one out there. But overall, credits earned, made profit. That's always nice. Got a significant amount of experience. So I'm going to pretty much wrap this video up and go on to recording the next one. If you like this video, be sure to let me know and like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you want to submit a replay, there are instructions on that and more in the description down below for sure. But also, if you have any suggestions on how I can make my replays or my commentaries or channel better, please also let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, this has been Spang, and I am just clearly oh so professional.
MLG Dynamo!